gathered in the upper room, just waiting for the spark. A flame that shook the shadows, it lit up every heart. Each tongue began to sing aloud, no borders held them down. A story forged in courage from the cities to the towns. Rise up, feel the fire inside. Take the call, let the spirit guide. Every step, every word that we act, we're living out the book of Acts. The chains were breaking open, the blind began to see. Prison walls crumbled down, they walked out free. With love as their banner, they turned the world around. A revolution started with echoes of the sound. Rise up, feel the fire inside. Take the call, let the spirit guide. Every step, every word that we act, we're living out the book of Acts. They carried light through all the lands, through storms and trials with steady hands. From the streets to every soul, the mission clear, the gospel whole. Now here we stand in modern days, their mission still alive. The echoes of their bravery in every heart survive. So let's be bold and take our place. The time to act is near. The message moves eternally. It's loud and crystal clear. Rise up, feel the fire inside. Take the call, let the spirit guide. Every step, every word that we act, we're living out the book of Acts. Rise up, feel the fire inside. Take the call, let the spirit guide. Every step, every word that we act, we're living out the book of Acts. Rise up, stand tall, don't look away. Love's the anthem, they can't decay. Chains will break as truth shines through. Jesus gave his name to me, and yeah, you. Rise up, feel the fire inside. Take the call, let the spirit guide. Every step, every word that we act, we're living out the book of Acts.
All right. Welcome once again to April in Acts, even though it's May. So we'll just call it Leadership in the Book of Acts. Good to be with you once again. My name is DJ. If you can't read, um, no big deal. We're going to be doing through Acts 27 today, and we're going to be reading from the Amplified edition of the Bible. So bear with me. There's probably lots more awkwardly pronounced names and that sort of thing, but we'll dive we'll dive right correct into this here. So yeah, let's do this. We'll talk logistics at the end. How's that sound? Paul is sent to Rome. Now, when it was determined that we, including Luke apparently stayed nearby so that he could visit Paul and assist Paul during the 2 years of imprisonment. By the way, this is the subject of that movie that was released a couple years ago. That there was. I just realized I don't think I actually have a copy of it. That's awkward. Not that it matters in this day and age. You usually stream things anyway, but there was a movie that was called Paul the Apostle or something. Paul the Apostle of God, something like that. It is basically the last days of Paul and that sort of thing, and it was Luke attending to him in this way and that sort of thing. And so it was seeing basically from Luke's perspective of everything that was going on there, and so all the visits and all the drama there. It was actually a really good, well put together movie. I was there for it wasn't a premiere, it was like a preview where they were like looking to make some last minute changes and getting feedback from audiences and that sort of thing. And so I had the pleasure of being part of that, which was really cool. So highly recommended. In fact, I think I have a review of the movie on my website from years ago, if I remember right. I'm finding myself curious about this. Yes, I did. And so, yeah, so that was 2018. So that was the movie was Paul, Apostle of Christ. And so, yeah, so you can go to my website, DJ Eshelman, and find that. So I can just put that up on the screen there. There we go. We'll do it that way. So anyway, that's highly enjoyable. And I think, I'm not positive, but I think there was at least one streaming service that had this. I can't remember if it was Amazon or Netflix or something like that. I think I remember seeing it recently. So worth looking up, and maybe I'll do that tonight as I'm kind of winding down for the day. I'll see if I can find that, and I'll let you all know tomorrow. All right. When it was determined that we, including Luke, would sail for Italy, they turned Paul and some other prisoners over to a centurion of the Augustan regiment named Julius. Going aboard a ship from Adramyttium, which was about to sail for the ports, along with the west coast province of Asia Minor, we put out to sea. And Aristarchus, a Macedonian man from Thessalonica, accompanied us. The struggle is real. The next day we landed at Sidon, and Julius, treating Paul with thoughtful consideration, allowed him to go to his friends there and be cared for and refreshed. Interesting. From there we put out to sea and sailed to the leeward or sheltered side of Cyprus for protection from the weather, because the winds were against us. When we had sailed across the sea along the coasts of Sicilia and Pamphylia, we landed at Myra in Lycia on the south coast of Asia Minor. There, the centurion Julius found an Alexandrian ship, a grain ship of the Roman fleet, sailing for Italy, and he put us on board it. For a number of days, we sailed slowly and arrived with difficulty off Cnidus. Then, because the wind did not allow us to go farther, we sailed under the leeward sheltered side of Crete off Solomon, and hugging the shore with difficulty, we came to a place called Fair Havens, near the city of Lasea on the south side of Crete. Again, I'm grateful for the detail, but not grateful I have to read all these names. It's just painful. Now, much time had been lost, and navigation was dangerous because even the time of the fast Day of Atonement was already over. Paul began to strongly warn them. Hang on a second. What's this footnote? Sailing in the Mediterranean was dangerous for ancient ships after the second week of September and virtually impossible after November 11th. So now there was no hope of reaching Italy before winter. Aha. Okay. Saying, men, I sense I sense after careful thought and observation that this voyage will certainly be a disaster and will be a great loss, not only of cargo and the ship, but also our lives. However, the centurion, Julius, ranking officer on board, was persuaded by the pilot and the owner of the ship rather than by what Paul said. Because the harbor was not well situated for wintering, the majority of the sailors decided to put to sea from there, hoping somehow to reach Phoenix, a harbor of Crete facing southwest and northwest. Huh? Harbor of Crete facing southwest and northwest. And spent the winter there. Sorry, I'm just trying to picture how a harbor would face. Yeah, I got okay. If it's like very far out, jutting out, whatever. Okay, I guess I can see that. So when the south wind blew softly, thinking that they had obtained their goal, they weighed anchor and sailed to Crete, along Crete, hugging the coast. But soon afterwards, a violent wind called, wow, Euraculo, a northeaster tempestuous windstorm, tempestuous windstorm like a typhoon, came rushing down from the island. And when the ship was caught in it and could not head against the wind to gain stability, we gave up and, letting her drift, were driven along. We ran under the shelter of a small island, 25 miles south of Crete, called Claudia, and with great difficulty we were able to get the ship's skiff off the deck and secure it. Small boat towed behind the ship for transportation to and from shore, or as a lifeboat for emergencies. In a violent sea, it might collide repeatedly with the ship and cause major damage, I bet. After hoisting the skiff on board, they used support lines for the frapping. These were ropes that were tightly wrapped around and sometimes under the hull of an ancient ship to firm and strengthen in heavy seas. To undergird and brace the ship's hull, and fearing that they might run aground in the shallows of Syrtis off the north coast of Africa, they let down the sea anchor and lowered the sails and were driven along backwards with the bow into the wind. Sea anchor, yeah, I was wondering about this, is a sturdy fabric parachute set at the end of the anchor rod, designed for use with a rope or chain, windlass, or other long line, and sometimes weighted so it rides deep. A sea anchor is placed off the bow, the front, so that the boat's bow would be held into the wind while drifting or being blown downwind. One danger of this is that the rudder may be damaged, and that is what happened later. The rudder is lost. A droge is set off the stern, the back, when sailing downwind to slow the boat and provide more control. The sea anchor held the bow into the wind and slowed the drift. Huh. All right. On the next day, we were being violently tossed about by the storm, and taking on water, they began to jettison the cargo. And on the third day, they threw the ship's tackle, spare lines, blocks, miscellaneous equipment overboard with their own hands to further reduce the weight. I wonder why it says with their own hands. So how else would they do it? but whatever. Since neither sun nor stars appeared for many days, and no small storm kept raging about us, from then all from then on, all hope of our being saved was growing worse and worse, and gradually abandoned. After they had gone a long time without food because of seasickness and stress, oh yeah, much loss of appetite. Okay. Paul stood up and before them and said, "Men, you should have followed my advice and should not have set sail from Crete and brought on this damage and loss. But even now, I urge you to keep your courage and be in good spirits, because there will be no loss of life among you, only loss of the ship." That's actually pretty cool. Let's break that down for a second. So, basically, he's saying, "Well, you didn't do what I said. Now you're seeing the results of that. Um, so, yeah, but let's move forward, and this will be and just be encouraged anyway." And so it is one of those things where it's just like, um, it's not just about giving grace. It's also about saying, in all circumstances, moving forward is better than looking back. And that is something that I find with every successful leader that I've ever worked with, and every time I've ever had any success as a leader, that has been a big, big piece of that. In fact, ah, I apologize. I thought I had it right here. Um, I do have it nearby. In the 21 Laws of Leadership, there's a chapter about that. I'm trying to remember which one it was. It is the Law of Empowerment, I think, is what I was looking at here. No, sorry, I'm incorrect on that. Yep, I might have to go back into this. Yep, I'll have to go back into this. I apologize. I'm actually, my brain is too filled with stuff to bring this into. Oh yeah, Law of Victory, number 15 in the 21 laws, that leaders find ways for the team to win. That's kind of what I was thinking of. Is that it's always important to have that perspective of, hey, you know what, we're not in this for the short run here. You know, we're in this to win. And even if we have a setback, even if you didn't listen to me, we can still find a way. You know, so there's that. All right, 23. For this very night, an angel of the God to whom I belong and who I serve stood before me, and said, "Stop being afraid, Paul. You must stand before Caesar, and behold, God has given you the lives of all that are sailing with you. So keep your courage, men, for I believe God and have complete confidence in him that it will turn out exactly as I have been told. But we must run the ship aground on some island." Not ideal, but that's what it's that kind of prophetic kind of thing. So the 14th night had come, and we were drifting and being driven about in the Adriatic Sea. The Ionian Sea was then considered part of the Adrian Gulf, which in ancient times extended much farther south than today's Adriatic Sea. When about midnight, the sailors began to suspect that they were approaching some land. So they took soundings using a weighted line and found the depth to be 20 fathoms, or 120 feet. And a little further on, they sounded again and found the depth to be 15 fathoms, or 90 feet. Then, fearing that we might run aground somewhere on the rocks, they dropped 4 anchors from the stern to slow the ship and kept wishing for daybreak to come. But as the sailors were, keep in mind, they don't have a watch. They don't know when it's They're just in a situation. They know they're heading towards land, but they can't see it, and they don't know when daybreak is coming. They don't have like um, a way to know that. That'd be kind of scary, actually. But as the sailors were trying to escape secretly from the ship and had let down the skiff to the sea, pretending that they were going to lay out anchors from the bow, Paul said to the centurion and soldiers, "Unless these men remain on the ship, you cannot be saved." Then the soldiers cut away the ropes that held the skiff and let it fall and drift away. Wow. While they waited for the day to dawn, Paul encouraged them all and told them to have some food, saying, "This is the 14th day that you have been constantly on watch and going without food, having eaten nothing. So I urge you to eat some food, for this is your survival. Not a hair from the head of any of you will perish." So basically, Paul is not only encouraging them, but also having a time here of um, practical instruction here. It's like, okay, well, yeah, look, you guys got to eat. You know, I know it's rough. We're on the seas and all that kind of stuff, and you're scared, but you got to keep up your strength. You're not, yeah, you're not going to be able to do this without that. And so, uh, sometimes the practical is still needing to happen. Having said this, he took bread and gave thanks to God in front of in front of them all, and he broke it and began to eat. Then all of them were encouraged, and their spirits improved, and they also ate some food. All told, there were wow. All told, there were 276 of us aboard the ship. Wow. I wouldn't have pictured these ships being that big. That's impressive. After they had eaten enough, they began to lighten the ship by throwing the wheat from Egypt overboard into the sea. It was a major Egyptian export. When the day came, they did not recognize the land, but they noticed a bay with a beach, and they decided to run the ship ashore if they could. So they cut the cables and severed the anchors and left them in the sea, while at the same time unlashing the ropes of the rudders. Ships of this period and region often had two large paddles on either side of the stern for steering, and when not in use, they would be secured with the ropes. This is particularly necessary in foul weather where the sea might dislodge a rudder. Now that they were casting off, the rudders had to be freed and lowered into the water for use. So, unlashing the ropes of the rudders, after hoisting the foresail to the wind, they headed steadily for the beach. But striking a reef with waves breaking on either side, they ran the ship aground. Places with water on both sides is the literal translation there. It's made of a strip of land extending from the beach, but most of it evidently was awash by the waves at the time, since the centurion commanded everyone to swim or paddle on debris to land. Okay. The prow, the forward point, stuck fast and remained immovable, and while the stern began to break up under the violent force of the waves, the soldiers' plan was to kill the prisoners, so that none of them would dive overboard and swim to land and escape. But the centurion wanted to save Paul, kept them from carrying out their plan. He commanded those who could swim to jump overboard first and get to the shore, and he commanded the rest to follow, some on floating planks and others on various things brought from the ship. And so it was that all of them were brought safely to land. I I guess I missed that detail that there were a lot of prisoners on board. Makes me wonder how many we're talking about here. Do, 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 do. It doesn't really say, does it? Yeah. It just said if they found a ship that was a grain ship that was part of the Roman fleet, so I guess it does make sense that it would be transporting prisoners. But at the same time, that's kind of wild when you think about it. I want to look at what this would look like. Okay. I don't know if you can see that very well, but okay. Gotta love the internet and me taking the risk of doing this live. But okay, so this is all starting to make sense. So pretty big thing. So yeah, okay, yeah, plenty of reading to do there. But yeah, now we see it. All right, so honestly, this is really just a story this time around. There's not a lot to glean in this, I guess, but I think those leadership lessons are nonetheless very important. That even when you even when you have not had your advice followed, and there's this burning sense within you of wanting to point that out, and just leave it there and just let them to be whatever it is. Um, but do I agree that Paul should have said, "Well, you should have followed my advice, but you didn't." I I don't know about that, but Paul wasn't perfect by any regards. And we have to remember that leadership is uh, it's learnable. It's not innate, and so there's that too. That sometimes we have to invest in the time and resources and mentors to be people that lead well. And so there's aspects of that too. But I do I see Paul encouraging as a leader, even though he's in chains, he's a leader. And this is something where I I think it was in the book. This has been on my mind. Trying to remember where I heard John Maxwell say this. I think the book was the 360-degree leader. I think that is the book that I heard this in. But the concept was that sometimes we lead from the shoulders, not from the front. The idea is that we are in a situation with our peers and we encourage them and basically lead all at the same time. So we're all kind of moving forward at the same pace. It's not like come follow me. It's not that at all. It's more of like hey, let's go, and encouraging people, and in some cases um the things like Paul had to do, where it's just like I'm just going to urge you to keep this up, even though he's a prisoner on this ship, which would have been pretty unreal. But obviously, even then, they would have realized this the influence that he had, and so it's not a small thing. And so, in any event, that's kind of probably the biggest lesson from today is to consider that. Um, so yeah. A couple of quick things, just logistically, as we kind of finish up. We have one more chapter to go tomorrow. So, same time tomorrow, 9 a.m. Central. We'll finish this up, and I'll try and have some resources for you. I didn't have the book in front of me because I just delivered it on Sunday, but congratulations once again to Tina, who was the winner of our our contest. So thank you for all of you that participated. I'll be sending out an email pretty soon. I'm so basically I'm putting together a study a leadership study. It's kind of like a call it like an academy kind of a thing, and just based on John Maxwell books and things like that. And the way I'm structuring this will be that actually buying and reading the book will kind of be optional for you. It's something where you can do it to get the further enhancement, but I'm basically going to be just giving you lessons and things like that that are um, yeah, substantial anyway. And the idea is we'll have like a weekly session with these. I don't want to make it overwhelming, so it'll just be a weekly, about an hour of time, and in a virtual classroom setting. And so that'll be going on. But anyway, the study will be, and I'm actually trying to get what I'm trying to do is get any kind of clearance because I am a John Maxwell certified coach and trainer. I need to get some clarification as to if I can just go ahead and do the High Road Leader, Jesus the High Road Leader as a study, or if I need to get some permission in order to do that, that sort of thing. I'm still trying to get some clarification of what we can do there. But what I can do is the book that was based on, which is High Road Leadership. And so I am looking very seriously at launching a study group for that. And those of you that are on my email address or email address on my email list, you'll be able to get that. So if you signed up for sign up for the giveaway and have a valid email address with Myth on that, then I'll be sending you a discount code for that. So look for that in the next week or so. But in any case, yeah, congratulations once again, and thank you for everybody for participating. I greatly appreciate it. And going forward, this Thursday, we do have a event going on here in the Nashville area where I reside, but it's something where you can actually stream this if you want as well. We'll have a couple of encouraging speakers just talking about living out your faith more boldly, and that's kind of the big theme I'm sensing from this, and there'll probably be other topics as well. But feel free to do that. And if you're in Nashville, feel free to be there at the church, and I will be there. So I will see you there. In any case, yeah, great to be with you guys once again. Looking forward to, I guess you could say, wrapping this up tomorrow. And it's been quite the journey, and I've learned a lot. That's always the case with these kind of things. And so, and I guess I'll say, pray for me. I have some things coming up here that are not easy, that are stretching me as a leader, and as a business owner. And so I I need God's help on this. I am not yet capable. I say all the time that you'll rise to the occasion, you'll rise to your level of preparedness. Well, there's some things that are coming up that I can't talk about publicly, obviously, but they are stretching my level of preparedness, and I am at a loss. And so, fortunately, I have some folks in my life, some men that'll pour into me. So my prayer request specifically is that God speak through them to me as I engage with them on this, as my kind of literally as my iron sharpens iron group. So I do pray about that, and if you can join me in that, that would be great. I'm sorry I can't give you more details than that, but and it's not like life earth shattering kind of things, but it is one of those things where I am not feeling great about any of it, and it's been a struggle, and I'm still, unfortunately, even after a very encouraging talk with my wife, very much still struggling with it. So I would appreciate your prayers on that. And if you're viewing this after the fact, you can celebrate that God answered those prayers, because He absolutely will. But from in the moment, it's tough, and so yeah. Actually, that's a cool thought. Actually, that somebody will see this after that prayer has already been answered. You can ask me about it in the comments. I'll let you know how it went, or at least whatever details I can give. Yeah, feel free. I should know by the end of the week how it all went. So we'll see. All right. Love you guys. Be blessed by the best. And go be a blessing all the rest. As always, you can join us on YouTube for more content. If you happen to be watching this on Facebook, YouTube is our kind of primary with all this. And so 11talents.co/YT will take you directly to that page and ask if you want to subscribe. I would say yes. All right. I will see you again tomorrow and we'll land the ship, so to speak. Love you guys. See you then.